Both Huskies are back in action on the hardwood. I'll preview. This is Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Locked On UConn. I am Matt Schonvisky, a two-time graduate, 10-year credentialed media member, and host of the only daily UConn sports podcast, Locked On UConn, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you for making this your first listen each and every single day. On today's show, men's basketball is back at home following Wednesday night's thriller. Then, the women look to add another to the win column, and finally, Jason Candle and his staff are absolutely on fire. We'll summarize the recruiting class thus far. But first, we are talking men's basketball as they return home to face DePaul on Saturday. And the Huskies, coming off Wednesday night's overtime thriller at Providence, are looking to continue to build off of everything we've been talking about on the prior shows. DePaul, on the other hand, comes in winners of two straight. They've beaten Xavier and they've beaten Georgetown, which was actually a pretty big surprise for them to knock off Georgetown, in my opinion. It was at home in Chicago, same place UConn played them. Second biggest game of the year for the Huskies. So they're getting the DePaul home and home out of the way very early on, and they cannot have a start like they had in Chicago. We know that UConn can start slow and recover and still blow out teams. They've got to stop with that. They've done it a few times now. They did against Butler. They did against DePaul. They didn't play well against Marquette. I want to see what they did New Year's Eve night against Xavier on Saturday, because that will indicate to me that they've continued to hear Hurley, continue to focus on what they need to focus on in practice, and they need to come out with that fire in their eye, that desire, that want to, in front of a home crowd, that they're going to be the first to loose balls, the first to the floor, the first on the glass. That's what I'm watching for first and foremost in this game. Because DePaul isn't one of those opponents that gets the blood flowing. It's a Big East Conference game. That alone in and of itself should get the blood flowing. Conference game, conference play, opportunity to get better, opportunity to grow, opportunity to learn. But what we've seen from this team so far, there have been some slow starts. And I'm hoping that we see that they've gotten over that, because they can't afford to continue to do that. Because if that continues to happen, that's going to become a trend, and they're going to get comfortable in that position. And as you get later on in the season, that's when you can get into trouble, especially against higher level quality opponents. But I think Hurley will have them ready. UConn 15-1, 5-0 in conference. I don't think he's going to let them take a step back, given how they've performed the last two games. Yes, 16-point win. Yes, epic comeback, the best comeback of Dan Hurley's career, he said. Overtime win. But they shouldn't have been in that position. They shouldn't have played like they did against Marquette. The last place team in conference, no less. Perhaps their worst performance of the year. So that's what I'm looking for as we enter into the game on Saturday. The second thing I'm looking for, I want to see continued improvement from Silas Demary. So number one, get off the slow starts. Number two, Silas Demary, I want to continue to see excel on the offensive end. We know what he's going to bring defensively. We know he's going to dish the ball. We know he's going to run the offense. I'm not looking for the 23 and 15 again tonight. I'm looking for consistency, hitting a few more threes from the outside, taking the shots when it's available, because I think he's going to be a key offensive piece as we move forward. So Demary's performance through the last 4 games, double figures, is not a fluke. I think it's going to be something that you see consistently going forward. He's going to deliver on the offensive end of the floor. He's going to take his opportunities when they come because he now, as we talked about post game, he now is understanding how he's supposed to be fitting into this offense in his role. And he could take over games at times, which you saw. He can close out games at times, which you saw at Providence on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. That step back was so sweet. And again, it just reminds me of another marquee player that's been here in the past. So I want to see that continued development on the offense and continued progress on the offensive side of the floor. Final thing I want to see. So we've got number 1, get over the slow start. Number 2, Silas Demary continuing to excel on offense. Number 3, I want to see Solo Ball have a nice bounce back game. I want to see him come in and dominate. I want to see him come in, shoot lights out. I want to see him come in, focus on defense. I want to see him come in and stay on the floor because he's continuing to put in the effort, continuing to excel, not in foul trouble, and being one of the leaders on this team. It'll be a nice bounce back game for him. I know what's going to happen. He's not going to sit there and sulk. He's not that type of mentality. Dan Hurley talked about what makes Solo Ball so special, especially when he was in that early season shooting slump. It's because of his mental makeup, how he approaches the game. He doesn't let things get to him. So there's not this snowball effect like you could get as a corner in football. If you're getting picked on, that could impact you for a few games or the rest of the season or the rest of your career. Solo Ball is not built that way. He's going to get over that performance very quickly. He's not going to let the fact that he sat end of the second half and sat in overtime get to him. He's going to come back and he's going to perform and he's going to excel. And I would not be shocked if he leads the team in scoring today. So those are my 3 keys to the game. The final thing I'm looking for is I want to see a little energy from the crowd. I feel like this fan base is still on cloud 9 coming off that Wednesday night win because I know I am. Such a thriller. Most exciting game of the year. There's been some good ones on the road at Kansas, right? At MSG, beating Florida, beating Illinois, beating Texas. But this was the most energetic, enjoying, thrilling win the team has had this season. And I want that to carry over into the game at home on Saturday. Because by all accounts, the crowd at Marquette was not great. The team was sluggish. So was the crowd, the energy at Gamble. I want People's Bank Arena to be rocking from the jump. Because that's what this team deserves. At 15-1 and 5-0 at home in the Big East. Off to their best start in years. Decade. They need that type and deserve that type of support from this fan base at People's Bank Arena. I'll be there. I'll be there with my 1-year-old. It's going to be her first game ever. She's been to some football, but this will be her first basketball game. So I'm excited. I'm energetic. I'm amped. Just coming off that thrilling win, then what this game is going to mean to me long-term as well. That first experience. So that's the men's side. On the other side of the break, we will be switching gears to the UConn women who return to action following. Listen, they played the same time against Providence. When UConn was doing their thing, the women were doing their thing. And we will talk about that and preview this weekend's game after the break. Rocket. Rocket, 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 rocket. Rocket, rocket, rocket. Let's see, Rocket Money. Here's Rocket Money. Oh, I didn't pause it. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me I was paying for 3 Netflix accounts, 2 Amazon Primes, and 2 Disney Pluses. It's already saved me money. The automatic transaction categorization is a game changer. I can finally see exactly where my money is going each month. You can set budgets and goals, get personalized insights, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances. It even consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard so you get a clear view of your entire financial picture. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Back in on Locked On UConn, and we are switching gears to the women's side of Huskies basketball. And while the men had that thrilling performance at Providence Wednesday night, the UConn women were home, and they absolutely dismantled another Big East opponent, this time St. John's, by 45 points. This game was over after 1. It was 28-9. Huskies dominated throughout. Sarah Strong, shocking, led the way once again, 24 points. She was 11 of 15 from the field, 2 or 3 from 3. 2 or 3 from 3. So 24 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and my, oh my, 6 steals. As the Huskies defense really absolutely dominated this game. KK Arnold, huge game from her stat-wise. 11 points, also 6 steals. I'm highlighting this because I'm going to get to a point. AZ Fudd, 16 points on 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Blanca, shocker, third leading scorer, 14 points on 7 of 12. 2 things to highlight. 1, the defense. Whew. Yeah, St. John's shot 36%. From 3, they were at 30%. How about this for the Huskies defense? 23 steals on the night. 23. 6 from Sarah Strong, 6 from KK Arnold, 4 from AZ, 4 from Blanca. That's 20 steals between those 4. What are opponents to do when UConn is doing that on defense? St. John's isn't a slouch. They were 13-3 heading into Saturday, or it's heading into Wednesday. 13-3. And UConn absolutely dismantled them by 45 and dominated on defense. This UConn team, I don't think I've seen. I have to go back and look. I don't know when the last time somebody had 23 steals. Or when you had 4 players have 4 or more steals. Or 2 having 6 steals in a game. Maybe over a couple games. In one game, I think it just speaks to how the Huskies are suffocating on defense. How they always find a way to get a hand in a passing lane, get a deflection, make a play in the backcourt, press, trap, you name it. This defensive effort is on another level. And it just further reinforces to me that, hey, listen, yes, the Huskies shot 59% from the field. If they shot 40% from the field and had an off night, if you're getting 23 steals, it's not going to matter. They forced 33 turnovers by St. John's. 33! 33 turnovers. You're approaching, not quite there, but you're approaching almost one turnover a minute. That's insane what they did to St. John's on Wednesday. And I know they got overlooked, and we haven't talked about this win because of what happened against Providence. But it's dominating, suffocating. And just leads to me that, hey, listen, they can have an off night shooting wise. They're still going to dominate, regardless of who they play. And I cannot wait to see how they play against Notre Dame. Championship night, college football. UConn Notre Dame leads in. They play at 5, and then it's championship game for college football. It's going to be a great day for sports. And then they got Tennessee February 1st. So you got 2 games coming up. We're really going to truly test what I'm saying. Is this team absolutely have an opportunity to go and be undefeated this year, which I think they do. I think this team is one of the best that Gino's ever had. They're one of the deepest. We talked about it with Bob Joyce and a few others, Daniel Connolly, earlier this season. Wagon is what Connolly said. Bob Joyce acknowledged undefeated could be on the table. And if you're playing defense like that, getting 23 steals, forcing 33 turnovers, I've never seen that type of number. Insane. And then the other thing that we were looking for, improvement-wise, right? We called out this a few times on this show. Free throws. 90%. 9 of 10. AZ was perfect, 6 of 6. KK, 2 of 2. Sarah Strong didn't even get to the line. Blanca did not get to the line. Only 3 players got to the line on the night. But absolute domination. So that's a recap of what happened when the men were taking down Providence on Wednesday night. And listen, UConn's back in action this weekend. So Sunday, they travel to Creighton, who's not having a great year. They're under 500 overall. They're under 500 in the Big East. 7-9 on the season. I expect UConn to roll. There's not much to say, to be honest, because this is a Creighton team that lost by 18 to Marquette. They've lost to Villanova. They've lost to Seton Hall. Their only wins are against DePaul, who's 0-6 in conference, to Butler, who's 1-5 in conference, and they beat St. John's by 8. First Big East game of the year. They haven't really challenged themselves outside of Big East play. They did play in-state rival Nebraska, lost by 34. And the only other big name team that they played was Kansas State, who they lost to by 4. So, looking to Sunday, UConn should absolutely dominate, and I expect 40 plus. I don't expect one of these 25 or 30-point wins. I expect 40 plus, maybe even 50. I think that's what I'm setting my expectation for as we head into Sunday. And then focus really turns. You're going to be a week out from Notre Dame and 2 more weeks out from Tennessee. So we're going to learn a lot about this women's basketball team over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We will talk a lot more women's basketball leading into Notre Dame, leading into Tennessee. No doubt about it. But on this show, On the other side of the break, we will close out in our final segment and switch gears to football as Jason Candle and his staff are cleaning up on the recruiting trail and in the transfer portal. Back in for our final segment of Locked On UConn and switching gears to the transfer portal. And who is Jason Candle bringing in? And it's a lot. It is a lot. Since the last time we talked, we've added another 9 known transfers at the very least to the list that have already committed to the Huskies. So that's 19 total. We talked about in our prior show, or 2 shows ago, 71 players. 71 roster spots is what UConn needs to fill out. And Jason Candle and his staff are continuing to attack the portal. Yes, they're continuing to still bring in some Toledo kids. And that's not a bad thing. I continue to see some perception that UConn is becoming Toledo light. But if you look at the talent, if you look at who wanted, and if you look at the options that some of these kids had before they went to Toledo or where they played before Toledo, I think this just further reinforces to me the type of recruiter that Jason Candle and his staff are. And whether they played at Toledo, whether they played at Alabama, whether they played at Texas, whether they played at Boston College, or whether they played at New Haven, it does not matter to me because I trust what I see. Players do not get highly rated by recruiting services and get offers from top-level P4 teams unless there's something there, unless the talent is there. And if you look at the list of basically every single one of these kids that are coming to UConn, high-level Power 4 programs or attended a Power 4 program or have produced at a lower level. So the mindset and some of the perception that I've seen out there, ignore it. Ignore it. Because the type of player that UConn's getting, let's highlight some. So there's 9 new ones that we need to go through. Let's start on the defensive line because a heavy focus on defense. Of the 9 new players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 9 are on the defensive side of the ball, whether at the linebacker or defensive line level, which I think speaks to, hey, what really needed to be fixed on this team? You had some high-level players come in defensively. Maybe weren't exactly the right fit for what UConn wanted to do last year with Matt Brock. They have since hit the portal. And Candle and his staff are revamping the front 7. Because there will be a front 7. It's no longer be a front 6 like we've had in the past. It's going to be a front 7. So who have they bringing in? Melvin Hills. The first ever commit to UConn, first ever player, I believe, from the state of Louisiana. He's coming from Texas. The University of Texas. So you can be all up in arms about some of the kids that are coming in, and without the context of what the offer list is, you don't even need to look at the offer list on this one. He was at Texas coming out of high school. All right. His offer list, though, my, oh my. This wasn't hey, this is Texas taking a chance on a kid. Everybody who is anybody wanted Melvin Hills. Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Florida State, Ole Miss, Missouri, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. That's the type of player you're getting. That's the type of player that is getting on the radar of Jason Candle. Candle is getting on the players' radar, getting them up here to UConn, and getting them to commit once they're up here. So you're seeing in real time the type of players and the uptick. I'm going to continue to say this. The uptick in recruiting that you're going to see from the staff. I think it's clear. These type of kids, we really haven't pulled in these level of athletes before. that had these type of offer lists. We've had some good ones. Don't get me wrong. But, man, that offer list might be the best one we've ever seen coming to UConn. Also defensively, they brought in a few linebackers. Kayvon Sherman, Toledo transfer. Ricky Williams, Toledo transfer. Sherman had 8 tackles in the bowl game against Louisville. So he's played. He had more than 50 tackles last year. He's got experience. Produced. Got sacks in the MAC. Ricky Williams is the other linebacker transfer. Started his career at West Virginia. So again, going to the P4 level before going to Toledo. Another type of talent that you're bringing in here. Another defensive lineman is a Duke transfer. Saw firsthand the environment that UConn can bring. Desmond Aladuje. And then the final linebacker is coming from Penn, John Lister. So that's your defense. So not just Toledo kids. You're getting players coming from the P4, started their career at a P4, have produced against the P4. And that's what you're seeing. Switching gears to the offensive side. Continue to bolster the offensive line. And Dominic Rivera is what I think is going to be another key piece. Started his career at Rutgers. Another P4 player. Transferred to Toledo. And is now coming here to UConn. And Rivera, he's not small. And that's the one thing to highlight. The offensive line that you're going to see here, we know what they've been able to do and how they've produced. We know, or at least I know, the size firsthand from seeing him, Ben Morosky, what he looks like in person. Rivera is 6'8", 327. This is the size you're going to start to see. Because this is, as UConn continues to bring in offensive linemen, you're seeing an uptick in size. So that's one thing that's caught my attention as they're starting to fill out the offensive line here. Size. Size. And then the rest of the offensive commits, wide receivers. Javon Brown, bigger receiver. He's 6'4". He's coming in from Toledo. And then Cam Abshire is coming from Oklahoma State. P4 transfer. Had 10 catches this past season. Played in the Big 12. And saw some production in the Big 12. And Kylon Wilson is interesting to me. He reminds me a little bit of a Mel Brown type in terms of, hey, this is a guy lower level, shows on film how fast he is. He's got the speed, a little different position. Obviously, Mel Brown running back before he got here. Wilson is a slot receiver. Smaller kid, produces. This past season, 64 catches, 652 yards, and 6 touchdowns at Youngstown State. That was his second school. Slippery Rock, same type of numbers. He was there for 2 years. Then went to Youngstown State, had that type of production. And now he's going to be coming here to UConn. He's a perfect guy to put in that slot. Speedy, smaller, fast, make people miss, get him the ball in space. Maybe some small screen plays here, little dump offs. He can take it, make a play happen. So those are the type of players you're getting. And that's what Candle's brought in. And they are nowhere near done because 71 spots need to be filled. You've gotten some players to say, hey, maybe this is the place for me. So Tucker McDonald is coming back as quarterback to continue to fill out that quarterback room. And then Kyler Hicks has also said, hey, I'm staying. You're going to see some more, probably. So maybe Candle doesn't have to look out externally for all 71. Maybe some of these commits or some of these transfers that have said, hey, we're going portal. Maybe they stick. But some of those that will not, just a quick rundown of where we're at from a transfer standpoint. And this speaks to the type of player that UConn had. Because listen to these schools. John Morris is going to Duke, linebacker. Barely saw the field here. He's going to Duke. Cam Chadwick's going to Virginia Tech. John Nider, huge loss in my opinion, West Virginia. Morosky and Cam Edwards are going Michigan State. Karsten Cassidy is also going on West Virginia. Alex Honig's going to Northwestern. And then you got a whole slew of players that are going with Jim Moore to Colorado State, excuse me. You got Mel Brown, Juice Vereen, Jackson Harper, Torian Johnson, Stephon Wright, Churchy, Malachi Greaves, and Farrar. So you've got a good chunk that are following Jim Moore and that offensive staff. And some defensive players. Mostly offense, though. Telling, right? Because your defense coordinator, Matt Brock, is not going to Colorado State. He's going back to Mississippi State. But Price Tracy, Kashif Moore, follow Jim Moore. And a lot of these players want that same thing. So Mel Brown, Juice Vereen, Jackson Harper, Torian Johnson, Stephon Wright, Churchy, Greaves, who I know Moore was a big fan of. So those players will not be coming back. And then Vincent Carroll Jackson is heading to Georgia Tech from the defensive line. So that's the rundown. That's who's coming in. That's who is definitely not coming back. And I'm happy for the players that are leaving, the types of opportunities that they're going to have. Because I think it just proves the type of player that has previously been here with UConn. So as we go forward, we will still continue to stay close to the recruiting trail. We'll try to bring in some of the transfers here for the fans to start to get to know them. But for today, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On UConn. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And for a second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, hosted by Peter Bukowski, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And as always, go Huskies!